Welcome back to The Watch. Today we are talking about Disney, our favorite company to lambast.
Bob Iger, who has returned to fix
His own problems.
Chapek's mistakes, which is, they always say in the articles, I just want to clarify that it's his own mistakes because his job was to bring in Chapek to lead Disney, and then none of his plans went right. And so he's come back to make new plans to fix Chapek's mistakes, which was his to begin with. So
yes. Today we have a little article from Bob, the Disney builder, and what is this? What is this article about?
So basically, what happened was there was a conference call, financial meeting or whatever, and he's basically laying out the plans for the investors to see, or all the board of directors, basically.
Right. And wasn't there like a I don't want to say a coup, but wasn't there like an attempt to oust him from the investors not long ago because they basically said, we want this dude gone because he's like a tyrant and he's not going to leave. That happened, right? Or was that just my dream?
There was news about stuff like that. I actually haven't looked too far into that whole thing because you know what? At the end of the day, it doesn't matter who's in charge of Disney if they're from these.
Still Disney.
Like it's still that, and it's just funny with this is that even though it's like a new roadmap, new plans, exciting. Everyone get ready for the fresh new Disney. It's just the same thing as before. Sequels. You know them, you love them, you keep bloody watching them, and they're going to make more.
I'm not too into sequels, just in like a general sense, to be honest. Because, and I'll tell you why, most stories start at the good part. But the problem is, once you go to a sequel, that means you're going past the good part. So there's nothing really there. But however, prequels, on the other hand, usually go before the good part where all the good stuff is...
Well, it hasn't happened yet.
It hasn't happened yet, and other good parts are usually gestating. That's usually how stories work.
That's how I feel too. Like, so you're saying prequels are underwhelming to you?
No, they're great. I love prequels.
You love prequels?
Yeah, prequels
I don't like them as much because it's just like nothing's happened yet. Nothing is happening. It's all building up to the thing that I've already watched.
I don't know.
What are your examples of a good prequel? You don't have
the Star Wars prequels.
The Star Wars prequels? Okay.
Sorry, we're going way off topic.
Well, we need to talk about like prequels and sequels because the whole thing that Iger's saying here is that like the money is in our current IPs and making more of them.
The point that I'm trying to make is usually you're going to have more luck with a prequel than a sequel. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Now,
maybe it's just my interest. Like I don't care so much for prequels as much.
Really?
Yeah, like Rogue One was cool because it was bridging episode 3 and 4 kind of together.
Well, the way I
and
sort of
some
look
cool
at it,
things in Rogue One.
The way I sort of look at it is like all the biggest IPs that I really love. The future of that franchise is in prequel content, not in sequel content. For example, let's use Star Wars. The Old Republic stuff would be a prequel, and that would be like that is hands down what I want to see the most.
Yeah.
Go to something like Game of Thrones. I don't want to see what happens to Jon Snow after. I don't care. I want to see Aegon's conquest.
Yeah.
That's a prequel.
Yeah.
So for me personally,
yes,
prequels are where my interest lies in a lot of my favorite IPs.
Okay, but for example, ignoring Game of Thrones TV show canon, imagine if George actually does finish the books and then continues on after, and the books are good.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to stop you right there. I imagined as far as you said that he finished the books, and I couldn't imagine that actually. I actually, it seems I can't compute that because the books aren't ever going to be finished.
I understand sequels; they have a limit. There's only so like I think Toy Story 4 was like the limit. Okay, you've gone too far now. Toy Story 5, what is that going to be? Okay, spoiler alert, Woody and Buzz aren't together anymore. Like they are separate lives living now. Like
I gotta be honest, I haven't watched anything after like Toy Story 2 or 3.
Yeah, like 3 for me was like, okay, we're done now.
What happens in 3?
3 is when Andy gives all the toys away.
I didn't watch that one.
At the end. Really? Oh,
No.
See, that was...
Toy Story 2 was where I ended it.
That's fine as well. Like Toy Story 2...
I'm happy with the story.
I would have been happy with that. 3, as someone who grew up with
He gives all the toys away. I feel like that's travesty. So?
No, but like it was either that or the trash. Like it starts with like the mum mistaking the trash bag should be in the attic actually goes out to the curb.
Okay, well you got a problem with your parent then.
Yeah.
You'd never give away someone's childhood toys.
Yeah.
I lost all my childhood toys, and I still rebuy those toys every now and then. Now that I'm an adult and I can collect those things again because they were all expensive vintage collectibles.
Yeah,
and I lost them all.
Woody is definitely one. Even Buzz, I think, would be. No, but
I had Zurg, man.
That's cool.
The big Zurg.
That's cool. Anyways, but when you get to 4, it's basically just the kid who looks after the toys. This is just a Toy Story like recap now, but we got to do it because this is what Bob Iger's plans are for the future of Disney. Basically, Toy Story 4, they go on a road trip. Woody finds Bo Peep because she's kind of gone missing, and at the end of the story, he leaves all the other toys and goes off with Bo Peep, and they live happily ever after.
But we have to differentiate between what's a sequel and what's just still the story. Because like if you told me that in Toy Story 3 he gives away the toys, then that's not a sequel. That's just continuing the story.
Yeah.
But then if you tell me in Toy Story 4 we've just got some random kid with the toys, I would consider that a sequel because that's a continuation of the story where things have changed a lot. Like, for example, the Star Wars sequels, they change the story a lot and they break a lot of things, and I would consider those sequels, rightfully so. So because like you use Shrek 2 as an example, and I don't think of that as a sequel. I think of that as just continuing the story.
But is that not what a sequel is?
No.
Sequel is just continuing a story. I think good sequels continue the story and build upon it. Anything else is just a reboot, like all the Terminator movies.
Okay, technically, yes. The next installment of something is a sequel.
Yeah.
Yes. But when people say sequels, we're obviously like we separate these things because they're not the same thing. Like when you think about them, they're not the same thing.
I don't consider the Star Wars sequels to be true sequels because it's just a reboot with Rey and Finn and whoever.
Because think about a good example is like Terminator. You have Terminator, the first one, and then the second one. Now technically that's a sequel, but it's still continuing the same story. Yeah. Then if we jump to like Terminator Genesis, that's a sequel. That's a sequel. Like and.
I just think that's when you get to the reboot territory. Like they're just retconning everything.
Yeah.
And so I think, especially with the annoying things with this,
that's a good way of putting it. When they start to reboot things, it doesn't have to be like a full reboot, but when they start changing things, I feel like that's where I personally start to consider things sequels more than
Well, you see, I hate that.
Yeah, I hate that too.
I don't like that.
I despise that stuff.
Then in your definition, I hate sequels.
Yeah, that's what I've been trying to say this whole time. Like, that's why I don't like this.
Okay.
The definition is the next installment of something. Yes.
Yeah.
But that's not how I think about sequels. I think about sequels is when they try to do like reboots or changes to things.
Yeah, that's what I just call like a reboot or a bait and switch. I love a good bait and switch when they're like, hey, that story you loved? Let's make you think you're going to go watch that, but actually it's something completely different. Yeah.
Zootopia.
So we're going to get a Zootopia sequel, which, meh.
So Disney's CEO, Bob Iger, teased that more installments are in the works for Toy Story, Frozen, and Zootopia. I don't care about any of them. Then again, they're for children. So
So like, I feel like you gotta change your mind a bit here.
Yeah, no. Like, I'm sure they'll do fine for children's movie.
I think Frozen will do fine. I was really annoyed because first one obviously did Gamebusters. Everyone was
liked the first one, yeah. What would you give it a rating out of 10? I'm curious.
I can't rate that movie anymore because of,
Come on, Nathan.
It's been...
The people want to know.
I can't!
They want to know what you rate Frozen.
I've heard Let It Go a bajillion times now. I just hate it. My ears bleed. Anyway, but Frozen 2, when it first, like, trailers dropped, it was, like, dark. It was gritty. I remember it opened with, like, Elsa's on this, like, shore beach, and she's trying to, like, run across, but she keeps, like, failing. And it was, like, kind of, like, more grown up and had this like serious element to it, and I was like, oh,
really?
Are we getting more like dramatic and cool? This is kind of
for the newest trailer
for Frozen 2.
Really? Okay.
It was like that, and then I watched the movie and it was nothing like that. It was like, it felt like a B grade.
Oh, is Frozen 2 out?
Yeah.
Oh, forgive me. When Frozen the original one came out, I was like in high school. Doing high school things, not watching Disney movies. If I'm being honest with you.
But then what did you do in high school if you didn't watch Disney movies?
I watched proper movies like John Wick.
Proper movies? What are you talking about?
John Wick came out when I was in high school. Wolf of Wall Street came out when I was in high school.
Ooh, he's a bad boy.
Those were fire movies. No, like genuinely, like I don't keep up with like the Frozen franchise. Forgive me. So I didn't even know
I do because it's the like biggest animation movie. I want to figure out what the hell they're doing.
So there is a Frozen 2.
There's a Frozen 2.
And it's already came out.
It came out.
And was it good?
I would say it was worse than the first one.
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't say it wasn't a good sequel.
Right, fair enough.
I was anticipating something actually kind of cool and different, but it was kind of what you would assume. What you would assume to be a Frozen 2 movie is what it actually was. But when in my perception it was like, oh, are they getting something a bit cooler here? Because like I think of having a bigger discussion with animation movies. I feel like, Toy Story 2 had some pretty... Adults could watch that and still enjoy it, I think. Like, it had elements of... Same with Shrek 2. Shrek 2 was a great movie for the whole family. I think good family movies are good for the whole family. Like, the kids can enjoy it, and the parents can laugh.
The Shrek movies are awesome.
Like,
period.
Great. But, like, Frozen 2 was like... I couldn't sit through it.
I actually liked Shrek 2 more than Shrek 1.
Same.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think it was...
I loved it.
It was
awesome.
great.
It was awesome.
It was great. I don't say that like it's a bad thing. Like, Shrek 1 is a masterpiece, but Shrek 2 builds on everything. And
I have no idea if that's a spicy take or not, so I'm not sure where the community's at with whether Shrek 1 or 2 is better. So I
don't know either. I prefer Shrek 2 just because of I love the fact that they go to far, far away. And it's just LA.
It's LA, yeah.
It's like... Yes.
It is the best.
Thank you, DreamWorks. See, that's good sequels.
That is good sequels.
But what I'm worried about is the reason why they're doing this, why they're trying to reinvigorate these sequels, is because... Money.
Obviously.
But then their defense of like, okay, why are you doing this and nothing else? The development comes as Disney moves to reinvigorate its animation business after both Pixar's Lightyear and Disney Animation Studios' Strange World underperformed last year.
Whoa. I didn't know about that. Who could have guessed, Nathan?
Isn't it interesting how a prequel didn't perform well and then a completely strange IP?
Hey, don't put that on that, all right? I think in concept, the idea of watching a Buzz Lightyear prequel is cool as.
Yeah, but they did not do it right.
Okay, yeah, so don't blame prequels for that part, all right? That's not a prequel problem. That's a Disney problem.
Well, it's a Pixar problem. Okay, what the hell are you doing? Give me a Buzz Lightyear live action, not a Buzz Lightyear fake live action.
Okay,
sorry, I'm really mad with Lightyear.
Okay, actually, let's use that as an example.
Okay.
For prequels versus sequels. Would you prefer to see a story like Toy Story 4 or a Buzz Lightyear prequel actually like a
here's
proper
the thing.
one?
It wasn't even a prequel. It's just the movie that Andy would have gone and seen.
I know,
it was just world building. Like it was a spin-off.
It technically makes it a prequel because it's before the events.
Sure. Technically. Anyways, I would have preferred that than a Toy Story 4. Yeah. But that's because the characters' stories were like complete. Okay?
Yeah, that's usually
fine.
That's usually why prequels are better, because usually you get to the end of the story, and then you want to go back to the cool stuff that happened before.
Yes, but in examples like Star Wars, right. I'm glad they did the prequels, but let me just say, I was 10 times more excited when they were saying they're going to do sequels. Like, I wanted to see Luke.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Do you know how much the prequels brought to Star Wars?
Like, a lot.
Do you know what Star Wars was like?
I know. It was lacking.
Yeah.
It was lacking. I get the prequels brought stuff, but at the same time, once that story was done, man, there was still that one aspect, which is like, I want to see Luke. I want to see Master Luke. Yes. All the games gave me that.
Yes.
I just wanted to see that. I do
want to see EU Luke in a sequel setting. I do want to see that. But if you gave me the choice of that or Old Republic stuff, the choice for me is instant. I already know what I want.
I don't know, man. Like, if they did a Luke story that had some really cool, like, Jedi Sith stuff, like in Jedi Academy, then I would be fine with it.
Point being,
yes,
I have no problem with, in a Star Wars context, if the sequels were done well. I would have no problem with that. However, I'm saying that most of the things that I personally want to see at this point in time is all prequel stuff. I have no interest in Disney's sequel universe. I have no interest in going even further. I have no interest even staying in the sequel era. I want to go to the cool stuff that's way back.
Well, personally, I'd either them just not touch anything and sell all the stuff because they're losing money. They're always like, oh, I need more money. Maybe sell some of your IPs.
Right, okay. But in reality...
I
want Old Republic stuff.
I don't want them to touch it, though. I don't want them to touch it.
The problem is...
They're going to ruin it.
What would you prefer? What would you prefer to see the next 20 years of Star Wars? Would you rather see High Republic, their crazy shit that they made? Or would you rather see Old Republic, which is fire?
I would rather them touch the High Republic, because then I can just go back to the Old Republic and then not be tainted. I don't want them to taint it, okay? They've tainted prequels, they've tainted sequels, they've even tainted the OG stuff.
Okay. God, we're really getting off topic. Okay,
right.
so...
When you bring up Star Wars with us too, it gets a bit intense.
All right, Disney wants money because they haven't been having a good last couple of years.
No, they haven't.
No.
And it's funny how they, they look at all these things, the parks, this and that, and they're like, what we're doing with all these sequels, reboots, bringing back old TV shows for another season, they're not performing well. I think we should do some more basically reboots, sequels, another seasons of TV shows. Yeah. And I think there's many issues in terms of both the business and the structure of what Disney's making. You have something to say, so I'm going to let you go say it.
I'm curious. Would you rather see a sequel of The Lion King or a prequel of The Lion King?
They already made a sequel of The Lion King. I would... Oh, damn it, you're bloody right. I'd rather see a prequel with Mufasa.
Yeah. See what I'm saying? Like, prequels are usually better in terms of concept, not in terms of execution. Let's be clear about that.
But I think it's because prequels are kind of easier to make because you know how it's going to end and you know what that character needs to be. And so you can have them at a certain point and the journey's kind of written for you. I think sequels get very lost because you're trying to change characters that are in a good place.
Okay, that's just arguing for prequels. Yes.
Yeah. So when a sequel comes out that's good, I praise it a lot because it's very hard to do
but
that.
But I love that part of the journey because then it means that I know that they can't screw up the ending. Like when they make House of the Dragon, I know they can't screw up the ending because I already know where the ending goes. It's already been written. I'm talking about the books of like Fire and Blood, not Game of Thrones Season 8. I want to be clear about that. And if they do an Aegon's Conquest, I know how that ends.
True.
So there's no fear in my heart of them destroying something that I want to see. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
Good.
Yeah.
I win.
There is no
prequels
winners.
Are better.
There are no winners in this sense. So if that wasn't bull enough, he's also done another statement which I think is just lies. Utter lies.
Bob Iger?
Yeah, Bob Iger. He said, our new structure, because basically it's also restructuring the company, going to lay off 7,000 people.
Fairly standard stuff. Yep.
Usual things of just changing things around. But the new structure is aimed at returning greater authority to our creative leaders and making them accountable for how their content performs financially. Our former structure severed that link and must be restored. Moving forward, our creative teams will determine what content we're making, how it's distributed and monetized, and how it's to get marketed. Few issues with that. One, you're not giving them a choice because you're saying you have to do sequels. Yeah. So they can't make their own unique ideas. Mm-hmm. Secondly, you can give creative people creative control over things, but I feel like when it comes to marketing, business decisions, maybe let business people be involved with that as well. Because I know some creatives will just be like, don't, just do a TikTok, that's it.
But I do like the fact of creatives being held accountable for how their things perform.
That's good.
Because for the longest time we've had where just make whatever you want.
Yeah.
And whether it fails, succeeds, they still get a season 2. And there's some really good examples of this lately. So,
Velma.
Holding these people who are writing these terrible stories accountable to their terrible stories and how they perform means less terrible stories. So
yeah, maybe. Because here's my other thing, right? When he says creative people, those creative people who we love and adored, who like were making stuff 10, 15 years ago, are no longer there making those things. You've got new people, new creatives who are making stuff now who I don't think have been through the same experiences or have the same...
But these people are only creative up until the point that they can no longer put food on the table. We saw this with Hogwarts Legacy the other day. It's like everybody likes to stand on these moral high grounds of, I want to do this, I want to put this narrative into my storytelling, blah, blah, blah. But as soon as there's no money to do it, they go, okay, how about we put like, hot babes? How about we, make this action? It's like, different tune now.
Yes, now we are. So, I'm conflicted though because I feel like he's just saying it for this is a boardroom meeting. He's saying it for the sake of it. I wouldn't be surprised if there's already a lot of that's the thing too. If you want to do that, you have to clear house. You have to just not fire 7,000 people. You've got to fire clear executives and directors of certain like in Marvel. There are just people in charge who the whole agenda is changing the genders of every character, having the right representation. It's nothing creative with them at all. And they're not one of the creative people actually writing the stuff. And they're not going to be held accountable. It's going to be those people who are creatively making the movies and TV shows.
Yeah.
okay, are they going to have some sort of judgment system of like, okay, whose fault was this for this bombing?
There will always be a clear path to who is at fault with something, because there will be multiple people who will be in these creative processes inserting or taking out things. And if different aspects are missing or absent when the movie actually comes out, you can easily trace that back to whose decision it was to remove or add something.
Yeah.
You know, if we have a story about, a young knight traveling on a weary road, and then all of a sudden it changes and he's got,
he's now a princess.
He's now a princess and he has to...
And it's not a real world, it's modern day New York.
Yeah, pretty much. Then you can trace back to whose ideas those were and who actually put those things in there.
Then it begs the question for me with things like, with Marvel, people making, like Kevin Feige making these big decisions, and one of the other people who are changing stuff, as well as Kathleen Kennedy with Star Wars, or Indiana Jones. Like, I'm pretty sure it's going to be certain people very responsible for making that bomb of a movie, which hasn't even come out yet, but we can tell. Yeah. We can tell.
So that is a good question. What happens when it's the higher-ups who make those things, the ones that are at the top?
Yeah.
So fire Kathleen Kennedy, basically. Okay.
We've been saying that for like 20 years. Even before she was president of Lucasfilm, I feel like people didn't like her like as the executive.
Oh yeah. But then the problem is, it's like, even the CEO, even Bob Iger and Bob Chapek and all his other Bob buddies, everybody can see that Star Wars started here and now it's down here.
Yeah.
And like, it's so... And it's happened under one person.
Yeah.
Like it's not like there's been different ones and they've been changing and trying. It's been one person consistently at the helm since it was sold.
Yeah.
And it's gone downhill from there. Like nobody's going to sit here and try and argue that it's gone well.
Yeah.
Nobody. Even the people who love like the sequels and stuff aren't going to sit here and say, "Oh yeah, Star Wars is stronger than it's ever been."
Yeah. It's not.
And then this person got their contract renewed. Like,
also, I'm really annoyed at the fact that like Disney's losing money. And they've really pushed now for streaming services as well.
They are losing money. They are losing a lot of money. So
much money. They're gaining like things at parks have gotten more expensive. You got this like, no one's going to the movies because they don't want to see your movies anymore because your movie is like I went to the movies the other day and I looked at what was showing and there was nothing good on.
Well, see, the thing is, a lot of parents, first off, when they take their kids to movies, now they've got streaming services, so it makes it easier to do that. Then on the top of that, you've had a lot of controversial movies that are not what an average family wants to take their children to see.
Yeah,
so then all of a sudden it becomes like, well, why would I do this?
Yeah.
You know, there are older movies, and these are children we're talking about. They will be fine watching an older movie.
Well, I've seen a lot of, especially in the cinemas we're near to, one of the biggest ones, they just have started playing old movies again.
Have they?
Yeah, they just, well, like they will find a franchise, like a classic franchise that Disney's been showing, whatever, and they'll just start going through like all the old princess movies, all the old Pixar movies. Like, they just start playing old movies again. And guess what? When I go on a Saturday, the lines are full for that, like, one movie that everyone's already seen. But they're like they do it with Star Wars all the time. That
actually is a good idea. Like, I can imagine, like, if they were playing, I don't know, just some old vintage movie that I really liked from a classic franchise, but, like, the experience of going to watch it at the cinemas in modern day. That's actually a really good idea. I kind of like that.
It works well for them. Like, right now they've been doing Star Wars as well. And they're doing, like, I've seen a lot of marketing for, like, the live orchestras with Star Wars. Like, I really want to go see that.
To watch Revenge of the Sith in the cinemas again.
But no, I'm actually I want to go see Empire Strikes Back with a live symphony orchestra. That would be freaking awesome. And so here's the thing: like, our interest hasn't waned on these things. Like, our IPs, if anything, we want more.
Yeah, we want more. Yeah.
The thing is, it isn't the sequels, it isn't the Disney Plus TV show, it isn't the way you distribute it, because I feel like we would all watch a Disney Plus TV show if it was good.
Yeah.
Same with the movies. We would all go to the cinema if it was good. Yeah. And if anything, I think people are starting to realize, hopefully, is that streaming services actually are big losses for those companies that are making them.
Well, yes and no. See, this goes back to like one of our mean and Shad's debates about things. Like, it was fine when there was only a couple. Now everybody and their mother has a streaming service, so it's so diluted and so expensive, and everybody's trying to make their own content. But the problem is the amount of people who are going to sign up to a streaming service is not infinite, and people maybe will sign up to 2, but the amount of people who are going to sign up to 3 or more is infinitesimally lower than everybody else. So people will have Netflix, people will have Disney, some people may have Amazon, but the amount of people who's going to have all 3,
very limited.
Very limited.
I think that Disney's big idea of we have this entire catalog of every like Disney, Pixar, 20th Century Fox, like they've just got like
so do I in my DVD collection.
A massive collection. They're like, okay, we're going to charge this amount. Okay, none of the new, like, the frustrating thing, right, is that they have this giant library of things that no one really, there's too much. You don't know what to watch. And as well, there's new shows that come out. Like, I am sure, I know of people who buy a month subscription for Disney Plus, like once or twice a year, just to watch the new, like, Mandalorian.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And I 100% believe they could make that, like, they're scared because Han Solo didn't perform as well as they wanted it to. But I reckon if they did, like, a Mandalorian movie, that would bring in bank. Like a proper movie. And in the cinema. I think that would actually give them a lot of money. Again, what I'm trying to say is that Bob Iger is trying to basically present his ideas as saying we need to do more sequels because that's what people want. We need to make up streaming services because what everyone watches. It's not actually the way in which we consume the content. It's the quality of the content we're consuming. The reason why your movies have sucked is because their quality has lessened.
It has, yes.
You put agenda into it. You've forgotten story. You've gotten, too involved in graphics, or you've got writers who aren't as good as, the ones you had before. Yeah. TV shows
The problem is with what they're inserting into all these new Disney children movies is that they're not, it's not even like subtle. Not that I'm saying like subverting and doing it subtly is any better, but it's so bold.
Yeah.
That's what, like, because it's so easy to point at and go, no.
Yeah.
Rather than like, oh, okay, it's just something minor. You're overreacting type thing. It's like, no, I can see it. Yeah. I can see it.
But, and the thing is, right, a lot of those TV shows and movies I've seen is that is all the personality of that movie or TV show. Like, it isn't the action, like you were saying before.
And that usually becomes the most talked about part of the movie, which is like, ridiculous.
How diverse it is. Look at this character that's in it. Okay, completely ignore the plot or the issues with it and ignore how it looks or whatever. It has this one element that people either love or hate, and people just go to see that.
It's just such a stupid way to market a movie as well, especially when you put these things in there purposely. And then the entire news cycle and what people talk about and remember from your movie is this one moment where it's either you're for it or you're against it. You either love it or you hate it. And then that becomes what your movie's identity, which is ridiculous. Like, it's like saying Toy Story 2. What's the identity of that movie? Well, it's a great story and it's really awesome to watch. There's nothing in there where I go, like, I remember back and go, oh, yes, a huge controversy about it. It's never that.
And it's funny, right? Because basically your movie will be remembered for that until another movie comes in and takes that spot for being that controversial, having that element in it.
But even that is true. But you still remember back and think, I don't think anything about it. I don't even think about the story. I think about how...
I think one of the only movies that have actually been past this has been Top Gun Maverick. The reason why everyone loves that movie is because it was a good movie.
Yeah.
Every other movie from like who remembers any decent Marvel flick from Phase 4? There's like nothing. It's all forgettable. It's all like basically Falcon Winter Soldier was just do better, Senator. Do better. This terrorist is actually
it's that one moment where it's just like that
was it. I think in the rest of that show, like all the things in my mind are the like, oh, Tony Stark didn't pay you.
Yeah.
Or, actually, they might be right. These terrorist people might be killing all these people. Might be an okay thing. This white guy's the bad guy because he killed this other enemy guy that killed his friend. Like, it's all these, like, other agenda-driven elements. I don't actually, like... I was thinking back to the first Iron Man movie.
Yeah.
I bloody love that movie because of the story, the action, and the pacing.
Yeah.
And the thing is, right, there's politics in it still, but it doesn't overshadow the rest of the movie.
But even the politics in it makes sense within the story that it's trying to tell.
It actually has context. It makes sense. So it isn't out of place. unlike all your other crap, Bob Iger, it isn't because you're not streaming on Disney Plus. It's not because it's not a TV show or movie. It isn't any of the issue in which, as I keep iterating, okay, sequels aren't going to bring back Disney. Neither are prequels. Neither are your established IPs. Whether or not it's established, or
just
whether
tell
or
a
not,
good
like,
story.
That's
just
all
tell
you
a
need
story.
to do. That is simply all you need to do.
Okay, all right.
They kind of say that with the whole creative control thing, but I find it bull until you prove it to me.
Right. Okay. So something I want to add is we've been talking a lot about prequels versus sequels, which is better. The truth is, while personally I lean to more towards prequels, there can be good sequels that are very good. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. What matters is if you tell a good story.
Well, yeah, like I'm saying, it doesn't, like, I think Disney's getting so caught up on the business sense of, okay, streaming platforms are the thing to go now, you should go do that. But look at Netflix right now, they're struggling to keep up with the whole
it's this whole
money
thing
coming in, money coming out. Like, obviously it's not a good model. Things need to change.
It's chasing trends. It's the same thing we've seen with like live service games. There's been like an apocalypse of them lately because people don't want these things. Like these companies always learn the worst lesson.
Yeah.
It's like Star Wars movies are tanking.
Yeah.
It must be because it's movies, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not because the stories are terrible.
Yeah.
No, it's because it's a movie. We need to make TV shows. It's like, hey, personally I like TV shows more, but I still like movies. It's not because they were movies that they were tanking. They were tanking because they were trash. Period.
And it's just funny as well because, like, they say, oh, because it's movies, and then the Marvel TV shows will tank, and the movies will, like, somehow outperform the TV shows. And it's like, okay, maybe it isn't so much what medium. Because here's the thing.
They always do it, though.
I would watch a good show if Star Wars is like, okay, we're doing another season of Clone Wars. But it's only on free-to-air TV at 7 p.m. on a Tuesday night.
Awesome.
You better believe, if it's only on that, I'm going to watch it because I know I'm going to get a good story. I don't care if there are 20-minute ads in between. I'm going to watch that show because it's good.
Yeah.
Same with any other thing you make Disney. The only, like, as I was saying before, people want to go to the cinema. I want to go pay for expensive popcorn and drinks and watch a movie in the cinema in comfy chairs for an hour and a half with sticky seats. I don't care because guess what? If the thing on the big screen looks awesome, I'm going to pay for it. I will enjoy these things if they are good. It isn't the platform in which you're giving us that's the problem. It's the content we're consuming that's the problem. Look at your agenda, look at who's in charge, and look what are the goals of those companies that are making this content. What is the goal? Is the goal to write a good story? Is it to make people aware of characteristics?
I wouldn't begrudge them. I wouldn't begrudge them for making mistakes. You know, companies make mistakes. Sometimes you get things wrong, genuinely. And especially when you're out of touch.
The bigger you get, the harder it is.
Especially. But the problem is they always take the wrong lesson.
Yeah.
It's always the wrong lesson.
Yeah.
And it's like you just keep running headfirst into a brick wall and it's like nothing ever changes. You just keep making the same mistakes over and over. And it's like, okay, at some point it's just like, I just want to watch this burn.
Yeah, yeah. Like, again, all the other stuff I'm saying, like, I remember there was some YouTube stuff that, like, I would always go on YouTube to watch.
Like what?
There was, like, Video Game High School was a TV series a bunch of YouTubers did for a little while. I some of you know of it. I watched that, man. I bought the Blu-ray as well because, like, I wanted to watch that thing. Like, I just want to iterate. Sorry, Bob Iger, you're taking away the wrong things here.
Yeah.
You're taking it. It's
Bob Iger, Bob Chapek, Bob Disney. I don't care. All the same thing.
Like,
they're all making the same mistakes.
Disney knew though.
Yeah.
Like back in the days, like Disney was like, you know what? These little silly cartoons, I'm going to do a live action. No, not live action. Motion picture length film with these little silly cartoons.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, idiot. And then people watched it and they were like, oh, why is this cartoon making me cry? What the hell is... And then good old Disney's just like, I know how to write a good story. And like, that's not how he sounded. I'm sorry, that was a really bad Disney impression. But, you know, like, he understood. He understood the motives.
God, there's so many good Disney, like, OG movies.
Yeah.
There's so many. Like, Atlantis was fire. Treasure Planet, one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Like, there's just so many that I can think of, and it's like... because there was such a good story.
Yes. That's all we want. You wanna make more money, Disney? Give us a bloody good story.
Who did Puss in Boots? Was that Disney? Or
that was DreamWorks.
DreamWorks, right?
Yeah.
That's fire.
Yeah. And they've done some like they. Okay, DreamWorks is a great example because they do some hit and misses too.
Yeah.
Like they've made some pretty average stuff, but then you got Shrek. You've got How to Train Your Dragon. You've got Puss in Boots.
I was never into How to Train Your Dragon. Not that it's bad or anything. I just never was.
That's fine.
I was never into it.
Like people still loved it because it was a good story.
I'm not saying I'm the be all and end all.
Yeah.
Of
Kung Fu Panda was a pretty good surprise for me.
I loved Kung Fu Panda.
They
awesome.
got some bangers too. And the reason why all those things are good is the story. Obviously, it looks good as well. Like everything's been perfectly crafted.
Yeah.
Like, people have worked their butts off. But it isn't driven with modern politics and agenda, okay? It isn't diversity.
Just imagine going back to some of the best movies, that like Disney stuff or DreamWorks stuff, and imagine it being made in the modern era and how terrible it would be.
Yeah. Well, there's certain good examples of that we can see, like when they do another sequel to a movie, or they do another season for a TV show. All of a sudden, the themes and the gist of it all changes.
Everything changes. Ghostbusters,
all of a sudden,
Velma, National Treasure. What was it? Rings of Power.
Also, there was a
Halo.
How I Met Your Father TV show.
I saw that and I just didn't care.
I cannot do it. I'm sorry, but no.
But yeah, that is everything that's on the horizon. Man, today's video was scattershot. Sorry, guys.
No, this is good. No. Don't think of this as a YouTube video, even though you're watching on YouTube. Think of it as a podcast.
Yes, but we are professionals in a professional setting.
Are we though?
We are super professional.
We're dressed up. Do I look professional to you?
But I think the person who's at like the, medieval fair is a professional in a sense.
Yeah, but we're dressed up and then we're talking about Disney. But there's an element of like take and give, okay? We're professionals because we earn paychecks, but at the same time, it's
long story short, we were a bit all over the place today, but there was a lot to talk about.
And I hope you enjoyed it because
yeah.
I do it because I think it's fun, entertaining. Okay, you come for the information, you stay for the company. I hope so. If you're still waiting for like more news story, I'm sorry, but we're past that point now. It's just you're getting to know Tyrant and Nathan now. I'm sorry.
But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Leave your comment down below of what you think is in store for Disney in the future.
Yeah,
I think it's pretty grim. And lately, a lot of the signs have been pretty grim with their stock and investor meetings.
Iger will stay for a bit longer. He's going to leave again, and then it's just going to fall into shambles. Somehow this man manages to sticky tape things together, but...
Oh God, we're about to go down a whole rabbit hole. But Bob Iger's been around for like a long, since like the 70s or something, and he actually did like save Disney back then.
Yeah.
So I can understand why he's so respected within like the board and Disney and stuff.
I just don't like.
But modern day, he's
like look at these choices, and I'm like, bro, it's not gonna last long. Like, how are you still?
That's a lot of L's you're taking.
Yeah,
basically.
exactly.
But yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and as always,
stay on watch.
You heard him.